Hello and welcome back. I've been doing one or two things this week, had one or two failures. I'm going to show you those a little bit later. And I decided that I would have a go at a vertically segmented bowl, vase, whatever you want to call it. You'll see that at the end as well. And you'll see me turning some of it. And I'll discuss what I think of it at the end. So, on with the video. So at this point I decided it needed another layer. The width and the height weren't correct, so I got a piece of tulip wood that I had left over, glued both the piece of tulip wood and the top of the vase, made sure that was well spread out, and then brought it up on the tailstock and tightened up, just spinning to make sure it's central there, and then wiping off the excess glue before I leave it for a cup of tea so it can dry. So having noticed that I hadn't quite sanded everything flat, I realised there was a gap, and I'd had a look at the gap just to see how deep it was, see if I could actually cut it out, but sadly it was a little bit deeper than I wanted it to be. So there's plenty of sawdust around, so I picked that up, as you can see, just rubbing it into the joint nice and deep, making sure it's well into the joint. And then once I was completely happy with that, and I could see that I'd got all the way around it, I used some very thin CA and flooded the joint where the sawdust was that I'd just put in. I let this dry and used a little bit of catalyst as well on it to make sure. So before we have a look at the finished piece, and I'll then discuss what I think about it, just want to show you a couple of things I've been working on. I just had some scraps of wood, and that's what this week has been about, really, using bits and pieces. So I decided I'd try and make a bud vase and try and incorporate some Celtic knots. I made several mistakes with this. This is the piece. I can get that in the light properly for you. And you can see there's a Celtic knot at the top and one at the bottom in different colours. The problem is twofold. One, I got the Celtic knots far too close to the ends. As you can see, this one's here. I had no room for the chuck, really. So lesson learned there. This should have been up here, and this one should have been slightly further down as well. But as well as that, my veneers weren't as good as they should have been. I did them on the bandsaw, and because of that I ended up with a piece coming out which I couldn't find, and that obviously wasn't glued properly. So a bit of a disaster, but terrific learning curve, and I made a bit of a sled on the bandsaw in order to cut the 45 degrees for these Celtic knots, and as you can see they're pretty much the same. So I'm very pleased with how that turned out, although it's a failure. It's come along okay. The second one I decided to do was just a little miniature birdhouse. I'd seen Harry do it in the little garden workshop, so I thought I'll have a go, and I made a really good start with it and got it hollowed out and everything. And then as I came to shape it, well, we've all been there, haven't we? I got too close to the bottom, and sadly it came to pieces. All is not lost. I can retrieve this, and I intend to do so, and I'll show that when I do so. But finally on to the bowl, vase, call it what you will. This is the finished piece, and the inside there, and the bottom. The reason it's the shape it is because that was the shape of the pieces that I had. So I'd already turned this for another project, piece of Iroko, if I remember correctly. So that was already shaped and already had this foot on it, which I'm not overly keen on. This piece of sapele was also ready cut into a slightly different shape, but wasn't much bigger than this. And I did forget one critical thing when I came to hollow the inside, and we'll come back to that. This piece of walnut and the tulip wood I added too, but by that time I already had the shape. Do I like the shape? It's okay, isn't it? It looks okay. I didn't quite get the pieces flat enough, so I've ended up having to try and fill a couple of gaps in the gluing. But this one was really nice, but the other two not as good, so I need to improve on that. On the inside, actually, they're really quite good, and they look okay. Now if you look in the bottom of that, see if I can get you enough light to see in the bottom. It's really difficult to get the light correct because it's a long way down, but in the bottom of it, somewhere right at the bottom, the problem with the piece of sapele was that I'd originally had it mounted in a screw chuck, and when I came to hollow out inside, I forgot, and I went a bit further and ended up coming across the hole in the sapele down at the bottom. Can you see that there? And so what I did was I had a little pine dowel, so I stuck that in just to finish it off. So it's all a bit sort of make do and mend, but it's used up a few pieces of wood. It's finished with Hampshire sheen, and it smells and looks fabulous. It's okay. This is an old school, could do better, I think, but on the whole, not bad. There's some lovely figure in the wood, and Hampshire sheen has a delightful way of showing up figure and transparencies in wood, and that looks fabulous as far as the finish is concerned. So there we are. Not exactly a whole success this week, although that's not bad, is it? It's not bad. There we are. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe, and a very big thank you to a few new subscribers I've picked up this week. Many thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll enjoy the videos. So until the next time, bye for now.